Coming up on today's show, Tesla sets new records in its quarterlies, confirms Cybertruck won't launch this year and doubles down on AI, Nissan teases an all-electric replacement to the venerable Nissan Micra, or Nissan March if you prefer, and BMW confirms what we've been expecting. The last BMW i3 will roll off the production line this July. These stories and more coming next. Welcome back to Transport Evolve News, or TEN for short. We've been busy filming a Polestar 2 first drive this week, so keep your eyes peeled for that, coming soon. Make sure too that you hit the bell and subscribe and support us over at patreon.com. Stick around and I'll tell you how later in the show. Today's show is sponsored by the Electric Vehicle Association. Join up to support the electrification of transportation and get the help you need to finance your own clean energy or transportation purchase. Tesla published its fourth quarter 2021 and full year financials on Wednesday, after the closing bell on Wall Street. And as expected, it enjoyed its best year to date. Producing and selling close to 1 million vehicles, Tesla hit its highest ever gross automotive margin, close to 30%, and finished the year with a $7.64 billion adjusted profit. That's a massive $6.78 per share. Elon Musk joined in on the earnings call to share an update on Tesla's product roadmap and surprised everyone by announcing that Tesla will not be launching any new vehicles this year. This means Tesla Cybertruck, Semi and Roadster won't enter production until next year. Instead, Musk promised Tesla will achieve full self-driving capabilities that are safer than a human this year. Self-driving being something that Jalopnik amusingly notes Tesla has been promising, quote, this year since 2014. And instead of a $25,000 affordable EV, we're told we can look forward to Tesla rolling out its humanoid robots next year, or Optimus Subprime, as Elon Musk likes to call them. General Motors made another grand announcement this week, saying it will produce 1 million electric vehicles annually in the US by 2025. While critics will no doubt note that Tesla is already just about at that point, this is a massive expansion for General Motors, which to date has not made anywhere near that number of electric vehicles annually. And we would like to say the more choices in the market, the better. In order to facilitate the expansion in production, GM has committed to spending a total of $7 billion to make it happen, with $4 billion going to expand the Orion production facility in Michigan to make it home to GM's electric Silverado and Sierra trucks. In turn, this pretty much seals the fate of the Chevrolet Bolt EV, which will have no home after GM's planned construction at Orion is finished. GM has confirmed Bolt will remain in production during construction, but after, I think it's curtains for Chevy's hot hatch. Following on from the start of production of the ID.3 and ID.4, not to mention rebadged variants for other Volkswagen AG brands like Audi, Seat and Skoda, Volkswagen has officially begun production of the ID.5 and ID.5 GTX at its Wachau production facility in Germany. The ID.5 and ID.5 GTX are already available on order in parts of Europe, and while there's no direct plans to bring the car to North America, the ID.5 is officially Volkswagen's 6th electric vehicle. Essentially the ID.4 with a coupe rear, Volkswagen is officially calling the ID.5 its first e-SUV Coupé, and if we're honest, we think of it as more of a sportback than anything else. Technically, the ID.5 has slightly more luggage carrying capacity in terms of sheer volume, but that sloping rear hatch is going to make it harder to carry larger items when compared to the ID.4. Either way, we are glad to see more choice coming to market. If you don't live in the US, you probably don't pay a whole lot of attention to how long it takes to get from one side of the US to the other. But if you've ever driven that trip in an electric car, you'll know that charging can seriously affect overall travel time. This week, Porsche has just announced that a Porsche Taycan has set a new official coast-to-coast EV charging record, travelling from sea to shining sea, having only spent 2.5 hours, slightly less in fact, total charging throughout the trip. The previous record, set not so long ago by a Kia EV6, sat at 7 hours, 10 minutes and 1 second of charging, and this new record absolutely obliterates it. The secret sauce in Porsche's run, only using 350 kilowatt capable charging stations, and I presume moving on as soon as the charge rate started to drop. It's a truly impressive feat, and I can't wait to see who challenges this record next. Big oil, the eternal enemy of cleaner, greener, safer and smarter vehicles, has been trying to paint itself in recent years as being more open to a world without fossil fuels. But this week we learned that ExxonMobil is trying to leverage an obscure Texas law to silence its critics, claiming that lawsuits filed against it for denying the effects of fossil fuels on the environment violate its First Amendment rights. It wants the Texas Supreme Court to allow it to effectively counter-sue officials working for 8 different cities and counties in California. It claims that the officials in question and their respective municipalities are infringing on its First Amendment rights by claiming that ExxonMobil broke state laws by misrepresenting and burying evidence pertaining to the effect burning fossil fuels have had on the environment. The municipalities are seeking damages for the effects caused by anthropogenic climate change, which fossil fuel companies had a part in causing. Texas Governor Abbott has told the Texas Supreme Court that he supports ExxonMobil and says California is trying to suppress the speech of Texas energy companies. I can't even. I just can't. Tom Moloughney from Inside EVs has completed the latest in a series of real-world range tests in which he drives an electric car at 70 miles per hour on freeways to see what their real-world range truly are. And in the most recent car he was driving, the 2022 Lucid Air Dream Edition, he set a new record for the same, managing to travel 500 miles, 804 kilometers at freeway speeds before running out of charge. Given that the previous range champ, a Tesla Model 3, managed 310 miles, just shy of 500 kilometers, I think the new record is a new record that will stick around for a while. As I'm sure you know, EPA and other similar ratings are calculated inside a laboratory, as it's difficult to replicate identical weather and road conditions for every range test. But I've got to say, we're all real fans of Inside EV's real-world range tests, and we'd like to see more automakers take real-world conditions into account when quoting how far the cars can travel per charge. What do you say? For years, the venerable Nissan Micra Super Mini has offered budget-oriented motoring to millions of people around the world. With seating for 4, 5 at a push, the Micra, or March as it's known in some markets, has been in production since 1982 and has been used for everything from driving school cars to racing vehicles. The 5th generation car, in production since 2016, is actually built on the same platform as its predecessor, and as such, it's starting to show its age in the world of tightening emission standards. Due for retirement, we've been wondering what would come next, and this week we saw the first hint of what to expect when Nissan unveiled a teaser of the car's replacement, an all-electric Super Mini. The short video animation teasing it previews a car that we think might share a platform with the upcoming Renault 5 EV, with round headlights that harken back to the cuter stylings of the 3rd generation Micra. I can't wait! Ford has been pushing hard this week on its plans to bring the Ford e-Transit to market, announcing new partners and services for commercial customers who want to use the all-electric e-Transit for work. Among the announcements include the new Ford Pro Intelligence Platform, essentially a telematics system built into Ford e-Transit and eventually F-150 vehicles. Ford says the platform is available for all sizes of commercial customers and says that it has more than 300 small, medium and large business customers already signed up to make use of the service when they take delivery of their Ford e-Transit vans and F-150 Lightnings. So far, 10,000 e-Transits have been allocated, with Walmart accounting for 11% of those sales. It ordered 1,100 e-Transit vans to join its delivery fleet. Of those vehicles ordered, Ford says its high-roof, extended wheelbase configuration, known as the Jumbo model, accounts for the majority of orders. JD Power has published the results of its 2022 US electric vehicle ownership study, and the results make for some pretty interesting reading. This year, the Tesla Model 3, Model Y, the Kia e-Niro and Ford Mustang Mach E come out on top when it comes to owner satisfaction, with a survey noting that premium EV models suffer the most when it comes to complaints about exterior quality and squeaks and rattles inside the cabin. It's exactly the same areas of concern pointed out in a recent Consumer Reports analysis and suggests that some automakers do have a way to go with their EVs. Interestingly, though, the survey also shows that when someone has gone electric, they're unlikely to go back to internal combustion, although it also finds that brand loyalty between automakers is less strong than it is for gas cars. Essentially, EV owners go for a car that suits their needs first and foremost. Brand loyalty be damned. If you've been in the EV world for any length of time, I'm sure you're familiar with the horror stories that are occasionally run by newspapers, TV and radio. They usually revolve around range anxiety, the carbon footprint of electricity, or some other FUD. Well, this week, a bunch of EV fans in the UK reached out after a production company was caught red-handed trying to dig into the negative side of EV ownership. One friend of the channel was contacted by a researcher from Bright Spark Films who says they're working on a Channel 5 documentary in the UK that wants to, quote, answer the questions people who are considering changing to an EV might have, end quote. The note states that the team were keen to talk to EV owners about their thoughts on charging infrastructure, but were particularly keen to speak to people who, quote, ran out of charge whilst out due to a lack of working chargers, end quote. While working infrastructure is still a big issue, it's nowhere near as bad as it once was, and this highlights that perhaps some shaping of the narrative is going on. Coming next, short shorts. But first, have you considered becoming a patron of the show? Everything we do is funded through a mixture of YouTube ad revenue, which has been pretty naff lately, third-party production work, white label content for a company in New Zealand, and the kind support of viewers like you. Through Patreon, you can support the channel from just $1 a month, and in exchange, you'll gain early access to content, assuming it's not a breaking news story. Your donation goes directly to growing the channel, and if you already do support us, thank you very much. On to our short shorts. Indian mobility company Ola Electric is best known for its S1 and S1 Pro electric scooters, but it's just announced its intent to open a new R&D facility in the UK where it will develop not just two, but four-wheeled electric vehicles, including an affordable EV. Lamborghini has confirmed that all future vehicles will be electrified in some way or another, with hybrid and plug-in hybrid vehicles coming first. Eventually, it says it will make an all-electric vehicle, which will most likely be a four-door car. We're guessing a crossover. As part of its announcement this week to spend $7 billion expanding its electric vehicle production plans, General Motors and LG Energy have announced a new 50 gigawatt-hour battery cell facility to be built in Lansing, Michigan. It will be the third production facility where Ultium cells will be made. Baidu and Geely have led a massive $400 million Series A funding round for Jidu, the Chinese automotive electric vehicle startup that plans to unveil its first robocar later this year. Both companies are joint owners in Jidu. Electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft have traditionally relied on helicopter-like propulsion to get them through the skies, but this week Autoflight showcased what it says is a proof of concept of its plane, a vehicle that takes off vertically but then uses propellers like a plane to push itself along. Kia has officially priced its EV6 electric car for sale in the US, with a starting price of just over $42,000. The longest range model gets an EPA range of 310 miles, 498 kilometers per charge. Ford CEO Jim Farley announced this week in an interview on Fox Business that Ford intends to have reached 600,000 deliveries of its electric vehicles within the next 22 months. Like GM, it seems intent on dramatically ramping up its EV production. Yamaha has debuted its EMF electric scooter in Taiwan. Built with battery swapping in mind, the EMF was produced in collaboration with Gogoro, the electric scooter battery swapping specialist currently dominating Taiwan's two-wheeler market. The EMF is compatible in specs to a 125cc moped. Ola has announced that it's stopping producing the entry-level S1 scooter, instead to focus on the S1 Pro scooter. While customers will have the option to pay to upgrade their S1 order to an S1 Pro order, Ola will eventually begin S1 production again. While we've all been cheering the nearly 1 million cars that Tesla built and delivered last year, sales data from China shows that 500 million plug-in cars, electric and plug-in hybrid, were sold in the PRC in December alone last year. That's mind-blowing. Shipping specialist Maersk has unveiled a brand new product called Stillstrom that it hopes will decarbonise the shipping industry. In addition to offering offshore power to electric vessels for charging, it will also offer offshore power for ships wanting to enter port, dramatically reducing emissions. We all know that having an electric car with an always-on internet connection can make over-the-air updates possible, but what about using your car to play real-time games? That's the vision of Ford, which showcased an adventure problem-solving game played in a Mach E. Israeli firm StoreDot has announced that it's developed a new technology which it says will extend the lifetime of EV batteries even when the cars are subjected to extreme rapid charging. It says there's no accelerated battery wear detected even after 1,000 ultra-rapid charging cycles. Dutch company Royal BAM has announced what it says is the world's first fully electric road paving machine. It's fitted with not one but two batteries, each 270 kilowatt-hours in capacity. It's the latest in a line of all-electric BAM construction vehicles. Elon Musk took to Twitter on Thursday night to seemingly cheer on Canadian truckers who are protesting against COVID-19 vaccine mandates. While this is not exactly EV news, it's bizarre given Tesla's push towards fully autonomous vehicles and an all-Android workforce. Consumer Reports has officially rated the 2022 Kia Niro EV as being a better vehicle to buy than either the Chevrolet Bolt or Nissan Leaf, both of which have been highly rated in the organisation's listings in the past. Consumer Reports says the Niro EV has a more forgiving ride than the Tesla Model 3. A newly released study from Scientific Reports suggests that strict COVID-19 lockdowns in European cities reduce the levels of air pollution in many metropolitan areas so much that more than 800 deaths may have been avoided due to improved air quality. While oil companies are trying to stop court cases against them in Texas, a lawsuit brought by the city of Baltimore and Maryland against oil and gas companies for their part in climate change has been given the green light by a federal appeals court in Virginia. It's nearly time for the Super Bowl, and that means we can expect a whole bunch of new EV adverts to make the rounds. And this year we're going to be seeing the Kia EV6 make an appearance alongside a robotic dog to promote Kia's work it's doing with the Pet Finder Foundation. Washington state legislators are considering increasing incentives to encourage citizens to make the transition to EVs. If passed, it will offer $7,500 for new EVs, $5,000 for used EVs, and $1,000 for electric two-wheelers. A US federal judge has cancelled oil and gas leases that were offered by the Biden administration on more than 80 million acres in the Gulf of Mexico. The judge ruled that the administration did not sufficiently take climate change into account when it auctioned the leases off. Tesla has launched all kinds of weird and wonderful products for Tesla owners and fans to enjoy over the years, but for customers in China, there's now a new one to add to the list: Tesla's karaoke mics. Now you can croon along to your favourite songs while charging. Motorcycle startup Zaza has long been promising it would launch an all-electric, all-wheel drive motorcycle with 300-mile, 482-kilometre range. And now it's shown us the design. It's very Art Deco. We're not 100% sure we like it. Fox e-Mobility, the company which has resurrected the Mia EV, says it's finished its final design approval for the same and has settled on what the Mia 2.0 will look like. It's part ID buzz meets original Mia, and while cute, it's going to have a lot of competition in the marketplace. Bentley, after years of procrastination, has finally announced its intent to go fully electric. It will launch a new electric vehicle every year from 2025 onwards, it says, with a total of £2.5 billion sterling pumped into the company to make it happen. The chairman of Foxconn, the company that purchased Lordstown's production facility last year, has said he believes Lordstown's electric pickup will finally hit the roads this year. Lordstown has promised and missed plenty of deadlines to date, so we remain doubtful. It's official. Sales of electric bicycles in the US are now outpacing battery electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles combined. 790,000 electric bicycles were imported into the US in 2021, 70% more than there were in 2020. BMW surprised everyone this week by announcing a specialist team of engineers at its mini plant in Oxford will now offer bespoke conversion services to owners of the original classic Mini. There's no price listed, but you'll be able to go all electric with BMW's blessing. And those are your short shorts. There will be more next week. Last year, electric car startup Aptera eagerly showcased the development work it's been carrying out on the design of its solar electric vehicle, and I was one of the lucky few to ride along in one of those early alpha prototypes. Now, as promised by the company, attention has been switched to engineering, with Aptera sending a bunch of beta prototypes out onto the track to hone the three-wheeler's drivetrain, battery pack and handling. While the beta prototypes, some without doors or trim, aren't as pretty as the 3 alpha prototypes we saw last year, they exist to help get final engineering completed ahead of what Aptera says is the start of series production this year. As someone with an Aptera reservation, I would love to see that happen before the end of the year, but it still seems like a really long way off. I really hope I'm proven wrong. And finally, BMW's revolutionary i3 electric car has been on our death watch list for some time, especially after BMW North America stopped selling it in the US last year. This week, we heard the news that we'd been expecting, that the very last i3 will roll off the production line this summer. Unique in its design and construction, the BMW i3 brought a whole heap of firsts to market, including being the first mass-produced plug-in vehicle to make extensive use of carbon fibre reinforced plastic for its construction. More efficient than most of the competition, the i3's narrow wheels and airy cabin earned it plenty of fans, but as better-spec'd vehicles came to market, it struggled to keep up with the competition. And with repair centres never quite getting on board with the car's unique construction, we knew it was only a matter of time before it was cut from BMW's lineup. So if you're having a drink this weekend, raise a glass to BMW's fun, funky redhead of a city runabout. And on that note, we're done for the day. But before I go, a huge thank you to the Electric Vehicle Association for sponsoring today's show. They've been advocating for electric vehicles since 1967 and firmly believe that our future depends on us making the switch to clean, green electric cars today. The EVA can help you find someone near to you that will help you make the switch to electric, it can help you become an EV educator, and it can point you in the direction of monthly meetups for like-minded EV fans. And if you become a new member, you'll gain access to an EV loan and clean energy program set up between the EVA and the Colorado Clean Energy Credit Union. You can find out more by heading to electricauto.org. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that bell, both for this channel and Transport Evolved Take 2. And of course, if you're feeling so included, check out our swag store. We're always welcoming of new Patreon supporters, or you can send us something through Ko-fi or Bitcoin. Anything you can send will be greatly appreciated, and it'll go directly towards paying the salaries of the 5 people now working at the channel. I'll be back, and so will the rest of the team next week, with great content for you all to enjoy. But until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and as always, keep evolving.